She hasn't won a Grand Slam. She hasn't lifted a trophy at Wimbledon. She hasn't stood on the highest podium in tennis. And yet, on a Wednesday evening in the middle of a Manila shopping mall, an entire country is about to erupt for her. The question isn't why they're celebrating. The question is, how did a 21-year-old from Quezon City make the whole world stop and look? That answer begins not with a victory. It begins with a loss. July 6th, the All England Club, Center Court. The third set is slipping away and there is nothing she can do to stop it. Jasmine Paolini closes it out. 6-3, match over. Alex Eala's Wimbledon is finished. For a moment, the crowd holds its breath. The Philippine flags dotting the stands go still, and somewhere in the stands, thousands of miles from home, Filipino fans who stayed up through the night, who painted their faces, who screamed until their voices broke, they exhale in silence. But here's the thing about Alex Eala. She didn't disappear into that silence. She walked back onto Instagram the very next day, and she didn't talk about the loss. She didn't mention the third set. She didn't promise revenge. She said thank you. Thank you to the people who filled a London tennis stadium with the colors of a flag from 8,000 miles away. Thank you to the country that made her feel like she was never really alone out there. Nobody saw what happened next. 2 days after that post, a telecommunications company in Manila made a decision. Not a small decision, not a routine corporate calendar booking. Globe Telecom opened a drawer, and inside that drawer was a plan that had been sitting there, waiting for whenever her Wimbledon run ended, waiting for the exact right moment. On July 9th, they pushed it live. One announcement, across Facebook, across Instagram, across every platform where Filipino fans had been watching, refreshing, hoping. A public homecoming. Glorieta Activity Center, Makati. Wednesday, July 15th, 6 in the evening, free, open to the public. One condition, download the Globe One app. Think about that for a second. A telecommunications company didn't just book a venue. They turned the homecoming of a national hero into the most emotionally charged customer acquisition moment in Philippine corporate history. Because they absolutely knew, that the demand would be there, that people would queue, that people would download, that people would show up. That is not a marketing strategy. That is what happens when a fan base becomes a force of nature. But none of it, not the venue, not the app, not the crowds, none of it happens without one single afternoon 9 days earlier. July 4th. Center Court, Wimbledon. On the other side of the net stood Elena Rybakina, the defending Wimbledon champion, a player who had already proven she could win the biggest tournament in tennis on grass, a player who does not lose easy matches at Wimbledon. Alex Eala won 7-6, 6-2. Let that sit for a moment. 7-6, 6-2 against the defending champion on center court at Wimbledon. Within hours, Maria Sharapova, five-time Grand Slam champion, former world number 1, Wimbledon champion at 17 years old, one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet, opened Instagram and typed 2 words, a star, 2 words. That's all it took. Because when Maria Sharapova says those words, she isn't offering a compliment. She isn't being polite. She is doing something far more significant than that. You see, Alex Eala grew up with a poster on her wall, a name she whispered when she talked about the player she wanted to be. That name was Sharapova. And on the afternoon of July 4th, the woman on that poster looked at the girl who once worshipped her and handed something over, a lineage, a torch, a silent, public passing of the flame. And then Billie Jean King met her in person. And Catherine, Princess of Wales, stood courtside and posed for a photograph with her. In one afternoon, in one match, on one court, Alex Eala walked into a completely different world. The story should have ended there. It didn't, because 2 days later came the Paulini match, and in the second set, Alexa was ahead. She was pushing, she was fighting, she forced a deciding third set against one of the best clay and grass players on tour, and she couldn't close it. 6-3 in the third. Exit. Wimbledon over. Now here's what makes this story unlike any other. Most athletes in that position go quiet. They retreat. They process in private. They protect themselves from the noise. Alex Eala flew home, not to hide, not to recover in silence. She flew home to walk into a shopping mall in Makati on a Wednesday afternoon, stand in front of a crowd packed shoulder to shoulder, take a microphone in her hand, and be the national celebration her country needed, before she had even had the chance to grieve. 12 days. That is all the time between Glorietta and her flight to Washington for the Mubadala DC Open, where competition begins again. 12 days between one world and the next. And somewhere inside those 12 days, she is expected to carry a country's joy while processing her own heartbreak. That is the weight no camera will ever fully capture. That is the moment nobody talks about when they talk about what it means to be a national icon at 21 years old. But to understand what July 15th truly means, you have to zoom out further. The Philippines has given the world champions in boxing, champions in billiards, champions in volleyball, champions who made their countrymen stand up in living rooms and weep with pride. But tennis? At Grand Slam level? That door has never been opened. Not like this. There is a phrase that followed Manny Pacquiao everywhere at the height of his greatness, the pride of the Philippines. It was more than a nickname. It was a mantle, a weight, a responsibility that only the rarest kind of athlete ever earns. That mantle is moving. And every Filipino fan who stayed up for a 3 a.m. match last year, who watched Eastbourne before the mainstream arrived, who didn't need a Grand Slam headline to know what they were witnessing, they felt it moving long before the rest of the world noticed. The rest of the world is arriving now. Globe Telecom is arriving now. A mall in Makati is where all of that arrival comes together. Consider the arc. Earlier this year, Miami, then Berlin, a semifinal run that included wins over 2 top 10 players. Then Birmingham, a WTA 125 title. Then Wimbledon, a center court upset of a defending Grand Slam champion, and a round of 16 that ended in 3 sets against the kind of player who belongs there. This is not a spike. This is a trajectory, and every corporate partner, every sponsor, every federation looking at her name on a draw sheet right now is scrambling to catch up with something that a small group of fans already saw coming 12 months ago. 1 year ago, Globe hosted Alexa at a private corporate tower in Bonifacio Global City. Invite only, controlled setting. 1 year later, they moved her to a public mall atrium in the busiest commercial district in Metro Manila. That is not a schedule adjustment. That is a statement. Globe Telecom is publicly betting that Alex Eala can pull strangers off the street on a Wednesday evening and fill a room with electricity. And they are not wrong. Per reports, this Glorietta appearance is her only significant public engagement between London and Washington. One night, one window, one evening where Filipino fans get to stand in the same room as the woman they have been watching from living rooms and phone screens and airport departure lounges. After this, the calendar becomes relentless. Washington, Cincinnati, Toronto, then Flushing Meadows, the US Open, August 30th. 4 tournaments across 5 weeks, each one watched by a fan base that multiplied in size on July 4th and has not stopped growing since. A headline from Front Office Sports put it plainly: Alexa has become one of the biggest draws in tennis. A shopping mall atrium in Makati is the smallest room she will play in for the rest of her career. And so we return to Wednesday, July 15th, 4 in the afternoon. The doors of Glorietta Activity Center open. Somewhere inside that building, a 21-year-old woman with a left-handed swing that the tennis world is still trying to solve is about to walk into the loudest room in the history of Philippine tennis. She will not be holding a trophy. She will not be wearing a champion's crown. She will walk out carrying something more complicated than a trophy, and more lasting. She will walk out carrying the grief of a third set she couldn't close, the gratitude of a country that never asked her to be perfect, and the quiet, unspoken knowledge that what she has started cannot be undone. The crowd will not care about the score against Paulini. The crowd will not be thinking about Washington. The crowd will be thinking about a girl from Quezon City who made Maria Sharapova stop and choose 2 words carefully. And when Alexa takes that microphone at 6 in the evening and looks out at the sea of faces that got off work early, downloaded an app, and stood in a mall because they needed to be near her, she will understand something that no match score can ever fully explain. She didn't win Wimbledon, but she won something the Philippines has been waiting for far longer than any Grand Slam title. She made the world look at her country and refuse to look away. And that, on a Wednesday evening in Makati, is more than enough. The biggest room is still coming. The loudest crowd is still ahead. From Glorietta to Flushing Meadows, the story is only beginning, and it will not wait.